All right. Peace and shalom, family. It's Divine Prospect of Kingdom Harbinger Ministries. And we have, hold on, got a special session on here for you guys today. Timeout Tuesday. Timeout. I know y'all looked at this subject matter and was like, what? What is he talking about? Well, we're going to get into a little bit of information on tonight. I'm not going to keep you long. I wanted to start while it was still Halloween, and I want to make a couple of points, okay? And then I'm going to open it up towards the end. If y'all have any questions, y'all jumping in. But take this link, share this link. I want you guys to hear what I'm about to say, okay? Very, very important, all right? So hopefully we have some of our Christian family up in the building. Typical Hebrew Israelite family, Black conscious community family, people who are just watchers and observers, not part of any community. Hope y'all are watching this right now. So if you look at the title of this particular subject matter, it's why certain Christians should celebrate Halloween. Certain Christians should celebrate Halloween. And if you tell them they should not celebrate Halloween, then guess what? You are doing them a grave disservice. I'm going to explain to y'all what I mean by that. I know some people were like, man, what is he talking about? It sounds crazy, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, man, let's talk about it. We're going to get into it. But I'm just going to wait a few more minutes for more people to get in before I get started. Take this link, share this link, family. We live. All right. If y'all got any input later on, I'll let y'all speak for a little bit. All right. So just give me a second. Hold on. All right. Okay, let me see who's in the building. Give y'all a typical shout out. If you want to shout out, hit 1. All right. And if you can hear me loud and clear, hit 2. If you want to shout out, hit 1. If you can hear me loud and clear, hit 2. All right. So let's start down the list. Mona Breakley, shalom. The Black Av1, shalom. Goddess 66, shalom. Just Looking, shalom. Pieces of Me, peace and shalom. Who else is in here? Janae, peace and shalom. Miss Ann K, peace and shalom. Paris B, peace and shalom. All right. So anybody else want to shout out, you hit 1. Take this link, share it everywhere. This is important. If you have Christian friends and family, share it with them. If somebody knows where the brother Anthony Cummins is, tell him to join in on this. I didn't get a chance to hit the brother up. Tell the brother to join in on this, or I'll just send this to him after it's done, just to get his take on it, because I know it's kind of like relates to him as well. But again, you know, I use certain subject matters because I want to have table discussions, right? I want people to be critically thinking about things. I want them to really understand, you know, the premise that I'm conveying, and not just get involved in the subjectivity of how they feel about the subject matter. But I want you to pay close attention, listen with comprehension to what I'm about to say to you guys and the information I'm about to share. This should be common knowledge, but for a lot of people, it's not. But at least today, it will be common knowledge for you guys today. And if you get this, you guys need to share this. It's very important. Very important. All right. So before I get started, I know from the last video, I had a lot of people ask me, how can they donate? The best ways to donate, the links will be in the live chat. But those of you who are in the chat right now, you guys can click the super chat button. So if you look at the live chat, right underneath the live chat, you see the name of your channel. It'll say something right underneath that. And then underneath that, to the far left, is a smiley face. And to the right of that is a dollar symbol. You can click on the dollar symbol. And when you click on the dollar symbol, you can actually donate some money. All right. So that's for those of you who are interested in doing that. We appreciate all your donations, and it goes to helping the ministry as well as helping others that ask us for help. And also goes to the R&D, research and development, in regards to the think tank information that we put out for the people. All right. So we thank all you guys for supporting any way that you guys do, whether it's jumping on the live stream, taking part in the chat, or whether it's donating, support, prayers, whatever the case may be. We love it. We appreciate it. We thank you for it. And again, we can't have this ministry organization without you guys. So we're here for y'all. Okay. So those of you who want to actually donate. Okay. Now, shout out to DJ Soup. Shout out to History. I think I got everybody. Shout out to Khalid is Eternal. And I think I grabbed everybody. All right. Shout out to Vanessa. Shout out Vanessa. All right, peace to Vanessa. All right, so family, let's get started, family. I know that some people looking at this and it's striking a chord. I know some people looking at this and, oh, what are you talking about? What you mean? Halloween is pagan, blah, blah. Okay. People say stuff like that, and that's very interesting, right? So the purpose of me actually making this statement is because I want people to understand something, okay? What I want people to understand is that my basic position is that people should go back to the practices of their ancient ancestors, right? Pre-Christendom, right? Pre-Christendom. Now, I'm not saying that Christianity is wicked, is evil, whatever. That's not what this discussion is about. I'm not here to speak on that. What I am to say is that I want to encourage people to go back to their pre-Christendom, ancient ancestral practices, culture, customs, and traditions. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because a lot of people don't understand why Christendom was implemented in the first place. And if you don't understand why Christendom was implemented in the first place, then you will have no clue as to what I'm saying. Being that my subscription is that I subscribe to being a Israelite, right, from one of the northern tribes who were admixture, and a portion of them live as an isolate amongst the other native tribes in West Africa. I'm going back to the ancient pre-exilic Israelite culture before captivity and before they were compromised by going into captivity. So I encourage anybody who identifies like I identify to go back to their ancient pre-exilic culture, all right? Because Judaism is a religion. Christianity is a religion. You know, I can even go as far as talk about Islam. If you're going to go deal with Islam, deal with the ancient parts of Islam. Or even if you want to go pre-Islam, you can go pre-Islam as well. The choice is up to you. But I'm speaking for me and my subscription and the culture that I identify with, the ancient Israelite, the ancient pre-exilic Israelite culture. Now, in saying this, I want to make something very clear. What I want to make very clear is that there's a lot of people that will look at Halloween and see all of these people practice all these things. And you think about Halloween, you think about trick-or-treating. Do everybody know what trick-or-treating is and where that comes from? Okay, because every time you say trick or treat, you are actually invoking a custom from a pre-Christendom peoples. Every time you dress up in costumes, you are invoking a pre-Christendom custom and tradition of peoples that existed and had their own culture and society before Christendom. Every time you cut open a jack-o'-lantern, right? I mean, a pumpkin and make a jack-o'-lantern. Every time you put a candle in the jack-o'-lantern and put it in front of your house, you are invoking the practices of an ancient pre-Christendom society, culture, peoples, etc. So here's the thing. A lot of people who are Christians today are Christians by way of the political campaign by a state-sponsored religion in order to make all the lands and all of the earth fall under the authority of the Vicar of Christ, which would be the papacy. And then later off, we had a branch off from that, which was Protestantism, etc. But it's very important that you hear what I'm saying. Halloween is not bad. What? It's not bad? No, because it's actually good for certain people. Why? Because it allows them to get back in touch with their ancient ancestors. What religion does is that religion masks and it puts a smoke screen over your ancient ancestral pre-captivity. I'm going to say pre-captivity. I'll use that word. Pre-captivity practices. So Halloween is actually good for certain people. So what people is Halloween good for? We're going to find out about that. But before I do, I need y'all to share this video. I wasn't able to share in all the groups yet. I need y'all to share this video. I need to get an X amount of people in here before we start going in. All right? Because this is gonna get real. It's gonna get real. Nobody can tell you this. I'm telling you this. Right? Hey, open rebuke is better than hidden love. So some people, they want to celebrate Halloween. I encourage it. What? You encourage people? I encourage it for certain people. If you identify like I do as an Israelite, that is not your culture. You should not be celebrating Halloween. That's not your culture. And that is what the Most High speaks against, being caught up with other gods. Yeah, there's entities that are over Halloween. Did you know that is a form of ancient ancestral worship or veneration for the dead and for those who have passed on or overlooking the peoples and being able to appease the Elohim of another culture? That's what happens when you celebrate Halloween. But if this is not your ancestral lineage, then why are you celebrating it? The people who should be celebrating this are the people whose ancestors originated it. You should be celebrating today. You should be celebrating today. And you're missing out on the festivities because everybody else has taken your culture and they've made it secular and they're disgracing your ancestors. What are you going to do about that? Okay. All right. All right. We tossing up. Family, I need y'all to share this link, man. I need about 50 people in here before I start. Come on, family. It's almost midnight. I'm not going to be on here that long. All right. Get 3 more people up in here. I see about 48 people. Get 3 more people up in here. We get started. Share this link, family. Let's get 50 people up in here, man. Let's go. It's deep. It's deep stuff. It's deep stuff. I'm going to have to show you on my screen and everything. We about to get it in. We about to get it in. All right. 2 more viewers, family. Get 2 more people up in here and let's get started. Share this link everywhere. Give it to your friends and families who are Christians. I want them to watch this. This is very important. People need to know history. History can solve a lot of mysteries. History can solve a lot of confusion if you learn history. Bring them in, family. Come on. We only need 2 more viewers, family. Let's go. Come on, family. Come on, family. Let's go. I know some of you are going to be mad at me after this video. They'll be all right. I love y'all anyway. I got to tell y'all the truth. Because ain't nobody speaking this truth to y'all on this day. Come on, I got 3 more minutes before the holiday is over. This is a Haleg day, a holy day for some people. All right? I need to tell the people whose holy day this is to reclaim back your culture and get mad when you see other people practice your culture. I know I do, because my culture was not designed for those people. It was designed to safeguard and protect me because of the people who natively have created it to protect those people with their social memory, practices, cultures, tradition for that group of people and their descendants, and to safeguard them from foreign influences that seek to undermine and destroy those people. People fought and died for their cultures. Culture was designed for a particular tribe of people, and they should maintain and retain their culture. Come on, family. 1 more viewer. 1 more viewer, family. Share this link. I know some of y'all up. Some of y'all probably coming in right now from trick-or-treating. Come on, family. Come on. Some of y'all probably doing some devious acts right now on your cell phone while I'm talking. How many of y'all egging people today? Raise your hand. Do y'all even know where that comes from? Oh, man. Y'all egging people. You don't even know where that comes from. What is enticing you to do these things? What is moving you to do these things? Is there a portal that's opened up? That's coming in here, and the people that are expanding these cultural customs amongst the nations are now bringing in worship for these Elohim or these powers? They should only be there for a particular class of people. Shouldn't be for everybody. You're insulting the ancestors of the people who created this custom and this culture. We're going to get into this, family. We're going to get into this. We're going to get into this. All right? All right, family. All right, let's see. Okay, we got 50 people. Let's get started. Let's get started. All right. Let's go. It's Timeout Tuesday. Now, at the Timeout Tuesdays is going to have subject matters that is very hard to swallow, family. It's a very hard pill to swallow. All right? All I am is just Morpheus, and I'm giving you the 2 pills. Red pill or blue pill. It's up to you to pick which one. You can either stay on here and keep watching, or you can change to another channel. It's all up to you. Should have put my Morpheus glasses on, but next time I have the Morpheus glasses on. I'm going to shave my head too so I can look like Morpheus. I'm going to keep it real. Put my trench coat on, everything like that, all black, everything. All right, let's get it in, family. All right, so let's get started, family. First, I want to introduce you guys to a particular group of people. After I introduce you to these people, I'm going to introduce you to a particular practice that these people have done. And then after that, I'm going to show you something very interesting, all right? So let's get started. Let me bring this up. We got enough people in here. Let's get started. All right. All right. Let's go get it. Let's go get it. Hold on, family. Let me get the screen together. Hold on. All right. Okay. I think I fixed it this time. I know I did. All right, here we go. All right, family, let's go. The Celts. Let's read it. Celts, also spelled Celt, Latin Celta, plural Celtae, a member of the early Indo-European people who from the 2nd millennium BCE to the 1st century BCE spread over much of Europe. Their tribes and groups eventually ranged from the British Isles and northern Spain to as far as Transylvania, the Black Sea coast, and Galatia in Anatolia, and were in part absorbed into the what? Roman Empire as Britons, Gauls, Boii, Galatians, interesting, and Celtiberians. Linguistically, they survive in the modern Celtic speakers of Ireland, Highland Scotland, the Isle of Man, Wales, and Brittany. Information on Celtic institutions is available from various classical authors and from the body of ancient Irish literature. The social system of the tribe or people was threefold: king, warrior, aristocracy, and free men farmers. The Druids, keep that in mind, we're going to get into that, who were occupied with magico religious duties, were recruited from families of the warrior class but ranked higher. Thus, Caesar's distinction between the Druids, man of religion and learning, eques, warrior, and plebes, the commoner, is fairly apt. As in other Indo-European systems, the family was patriarchal. The basic economy of the Celts was mixed farming and, except in times of unrest, single farmsteads were usual. Owing to the wide variations in terrain and climate, cattle raising was more important than cereal cultivation in some regions. Hill forts provided places of refuge, but warfare was generally open and consisted of single challenges and combat as much as general fighting. Latine art gives witnesses to the aesthetic qualities of the Celts, and they greatly prize music and many forms of oral literary composition. All right, let's move forward. The Gaels, we got to learn about them too. Let's read. Are an ethno-linguistic group native to northwestern Europe. They were associated with the Gaelic languages, a branch of the Celtic languages comprising Irish, Manx, and Scottish Gaelic. Historically, the ethnonyms, Irish and Scots, refer to Gaels in general, but the scope of those nationalities is today more complex. Gaelic language and culture originated in Ireland, extending to Dalriata in western Scotland. In antiquity, the Gaels traded with the Roman Empire and also Roman Britain. In the Middle Ages, Gaelic culture became dominant throughout the rest of Scotland and the Isle of Man. There was also a Gaelic settlement in Wales and Cornwall. Okay, I'm gonna skip. All right. It says, meanwhile, Gaelic Ireland was made up of several kingdoms with a high king often claiming lordship over them. All right. And we see here, over to the right, the Leah fell at the hill of Tara, sacred site of inauguration for the Gaelic high kings. In the 12th century, Normans conquered parts of Ireland, leading to centuries of conflict, while parts of Scotland became Normanized. However, Gaelic culture remained strong throughout Ireland, the Scottish Highlands, and Galloway. In the early 17th century, the last Gaelic kingdoms in Ireland fell under English control. James I sought to subdue the Gaels and wipe out what? Their culture. Why? Because James I was what? Christian. Okay, follow me, family. In Ireland, by colonizing Gaelic land with English-speaking British settlers, and in the Scottish Highlands via repressive laws such as the Statutes of Iona. In the following centuries, most Gaels were gradually anglicized. Gradually what? Anglicized, and Gaelic language mostly supplanted by English. English is a colonist language, family. It's a West Germanic language, but it's a colonist language or colonial language or imperialistic language. However, it continues to be the main language in Ireland's Gaeltacht and Scotland's Outer Hebrides. The modern descendants of the Gaels have spread throughout Britain, the Americas, and Australasia. Gaelic society traditionally centered around what? The clan, each with its own territory and chieftain, elected through tanistry. The Gaels were originally pagans, okay, we're going to see what that word pagan means soon, who worshipped the Tauta de Danann, venerated the ancestors, and believed in what? The other world. And we're going to see who these deities are in a moment. I forgot to add those two slides, but we're going to get to it. Their 4 yearly festivals was what? Samhain, Imbolc, Beltane, and Lugnasa. Continue to be celebrated what? Into modern times. The Gaels have a strong oral tradition traditionally maintained by what? Shanachis. Inscription in the Gaelic Ogham alphabet began in the 1st century. Their conversion to what? Christianity accompanied the introduction of writing, and the Irish Gaelic has the oldest vernacular literature in Western Europe. Irish mythology and Brehon law were preserved, albeit Christianized. Gaelic monasteries were renowned centers of learning and played a key role in developing insular art, while Gaelic missionaries and scholars were highly influential in Western Europe. In the Middle Ages, most Gaels lived in round houses and ring forts. The Gaels had their own style of dress, which in Scotland became the belted plaid, plaid, and kilt. They also had distinctive music, dance, sports. Gaelic culture continues to be a major component of Irish, Scottish, and Manx mix. Follow me, family. Right? Druids. Let's read this. It's important. All right? Druid is a member of the learned class among the ancient Celts. And we read about the Celts, right? And the Gaels. And we're reading about the Druids now, which is a class of people within those other groups of ethnic peoples. They seem to have frequented oak forests and acted as priests, teachers, and judges. The earliest known records of the Druids came from the 3rd century BCE. According to Julius Caesar, who is the principal source of information about the Druids, there were 2 groups of men in Gaul that were held in honor: the Druids and the noblemen, the Equites. It says Caesar related that the Druids took charge of public and private sacrifices, and many young men went to them for instructions. They judged all public and private quarrels and decreed penalties. Look, they had their own culture. If anyone disobeyed their decree, he was barred from sacrifice, which was considered the gravest of punishments. One Druid was made the chief. Upon his death, another was appointed. If, however, several were equal in merit, the Druids voted, although they sometimes resorted to armed violence. Once a year, the Druids assembled at a sacred place in the territory of the Carnutes, which was believed to be the center of all the Gaul. When you look up the Gaul peoples, you'll understand their history. They have a very, very interesting history, okay? Especially with them fighting the Romans. And all legal disputes were there submitted to the judgment of the Druids. Caesar also recorded that the Druids abstained from warfare and paid no tribute. Attracted by those privileges, and this is interesting, right? Because this sounds like the Levites, right? Attracted by those privileges, many joined the order voluntarily or were sent by their families. They studied ancient verse, natural philosophy, astronomy, and the lore of the gods, spending as much as 20 years in training. The Druids' principal doctrine was that the soul was immortal and passed at death from one person into another. The Druids offered human sacrifices for those who were gravely sick or in danger of death in battle. Huge wicker work, remember that movie Wicker Man? Okay. Images were filled with living men and then burned. Although the Druids preferred to sacrifice criminals, they would choose innocent victims if necessary. Caesar is the chief authority, but he may have received some of his facts from the Stoic philosophers Posidonius, whose account is often confirmed by the early medieval Irish sagas. Caesar's description of the annual assembly of the Druids and their election of an archdruid is also confirmed by an Irish saga. In the early period, Druidic rites were held in clearings in the forest. Sacred buildings were used only later under Roman influence. The Druids were suppressed by Gaul by the Romans under Tiberius, and probably in Britain a little later. In Ireland, they lost their priestly functions after the coming of Christianity, and survived as poets, historians, and judges. Many scholars believe that the Hindu Brahmin in the East and the Celtic Druid in the West were lateral survivals of an ancient Indo-European priesthood. This is interesting because when you study the Minoans, you'll see that the script that the Minoans used, the linear A script, if I'm not mistaken, A or B script. It's been a while since I studied it, but I'm gonna brush back up on it. But that script is actually tied to a Indian, when we say India, an Indian type language, right? It's very, very interesting on how things are intricately tied, but I'm going to save that information for y'all on another video. But there's key things I want y'all to see in all 3 of these slides in regards to the Celts, the Gaels, and the Druids. Now remember who the Druids were and who the Celts were. A member of any early Indo-European people who from the 2nd millennium BC to the 1st millennium BCE spread over much of Europe. The tribes was in these certain areas. Celtic speakers of Ireland, they tell you where they're at. Then the Gaels is an ethno-linguistic. That means they're singled out by their ethnicity based on the language in which they spoke. And those people were also, their language was a branch of the Celtic languages, which is Irish, Manx, and Scottish Gaelic. It's very important to see how the Celts and the Gaels are intertwined. And then we go to the Druids, who are selected from the second rung of the hierarchy in those times, and they're the ones out of them became these teachers and these judges and these so-called religious officials, but religion is a very bad term. It's a misnomer, okay? And the only people that use this term religion are people who study and practice religion, okay? Religion, it cloaks you from your indigenous identity, all right? Let's keep moving. Samhain. I know y'all know about this, Samhain, right? But let's get into it. Samhain, Celtic meaning end of summer. Also spelled Samhain in ancient Celtic religion, one of the most important and sinister calendar festivals of the year. As Samhain held on November 1st, the world of the gods was believed to be made visible to humankind. This is why only people who practice this actual holy day are the ones that have a clairvoyance, right? Or the ones who practice divination can actually see these spirits because that's part of their culture. People still practice it today. It's like people do divination towards the Most High when they pray. People do divination towards other deities when they pray to them. They also have their own form of that as well. Okay, let's do this. Let's keep moving. Okay, it says, the world of the gods was believed to be invisible to mankind. Gods played many tricks on their mortal worshippers. It was a time fraught with danger, charged with fear, full of supernatural episodes. Sacrifices and propitiations of every kind were thought to be vital, for without them, the Celts they could not prevail over the perils of the season or counteract the activities of the deities. Whenever you engage in any kind of festivities, customs in regards to Hallows Eve or Hallowed Eve or Halloween, which we're going to see where that comes from, you're going to realize that you're actually trying to appease these deities so that way they will not come into your home and terrorize you. Okay? Because this is what they did. Let's keep reading. It says it was considered a liminal time when the veil between life and death grows thin. Food is set aside for what? Ancestors and tutelary spirits or protective spirits, and rituals, what? Honoring the dead, take place. They base their celebration and rituals on traditional lore as well as research into the beliefs of the polytheistic Celts. Polytheistic Celts. Celtic Reconstructionist pagans, or CRs, often celebrate Samhain on the date of the first frost or when the last of the harvest is in and the ground is dry enough to have a what? Bonfire. See these images I have here? Samhain blessings. Blessed Samhain, may the turning of the year bring you strength and joy. Call upon the past and celebrate as the veil between the veil thins between the worlds. Honor yourself, Mother Earth, and all your relations. Very interesting. There's a Facebook page, Inner Journey Events. So these practices, right, do not alarm me. They don't scare me. I'm not, oh my God, is this pagan? That word pagan, family, we're going to see what that word pagan means. And that is a term that's used as a pejorative term, a belittling, condescending term, a disrespectful term to indigenous peoples who decided that they want to live in the countryside and they did not want to be converted in the cities. They decided to live on the land. They decided to do ancestor veneration. They decided to pray to their deities. They decided to live peacefully as much as they possibly could until we have a religious system that wanted to conquer them. So what they did was they wanted to make these people feel inferior. While in being superior, they get to galvanize all of the strength that they have from a state-sponsored religion. And in doing so, they get to, by the sword and by the conversion, get to take these peoples away from the indigenous cultures and absorb them into this ecumenical system and religious order called Christendom. Okay. All right. St. Patrick's Day. Wait, before we get into St. Patrick's Day, let me stop for a second, family. Let me stop for a second. Let me stop for a second. Hold on, family. I got to see what's going on. Okay. Hopefully y'all was able to see that. Okay, we got enough people in here. All right. So, family, keep watching. I want to make sure. If y'all saw the slides, hit 1. If you saw the slides, hit 1. If you saw the slides, hit 1. Hit 1 if you saw the slides. Hit 1 if you saw the slides, family. Hit it, family. Hit it, family. All right, we're gonna get into some stuff real quick. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and finish this. Just give me 1 second, family. Give me 1 second. Just want to get this stuff up. All right. So family, hope you're enjoying. Hit one if you saw the slides. Hit one if you saw the slides. All right, you saw the slides? All right. So let's get back into this, family, okay? Because I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna say something towards the end, and you're gonna really see ultimately what I'm saying, okay? You can listen. You can cleave unto any culture that you want to. All I'm saying is that certain cultures were not created for certain people. But if you want to cleave into that culture, if that culture has a back door or a window open for outsiders to come in, those outsiders have to do what? Shed off anything that they believed previously in order for them to cleave unto this new culture. And the reason for that is because if you do not do that, you can possibly lead people astray in that culture to go after other customs that was not indigenously designed for them. So just like when we see in ancient Israel, we see that reading Shemot chapter 12, when it dealt with the two types of strangers, the stranger that was just traveling in and out, right? And then the stranger who was settling in. The stranger who decided to live amongst the Israelites, they had to what? Be circumcised, keep the feast, and they had to uphold Torah. Why? Because now you're a citizen, and part of your citizenship or civics in regards to that sovereign area was that you had to adhere to the theocracy that was being implemented by the people, okay? Now, if you decide you want to be a traveler, just coming in, doing business, meeting, visiting people, and leaving back out, that's fine. But on the Sabbath, when the gates closed, you had to stay inside, and you was as if you was a native born. You had to keep all the statutes, laws, and commandments during that time. But here's the thing, family. Those people can leave out of the community, and they can do whatever they want. But coming in, they were not allowed to spread falsehoods and things of that nature, or try to get people to worship after their gods and so forth, because that's a capital offense. You'll be put to death. Very simple, okay? So this is interesting because now today, we are being enveloped by a system called Christendom, not Christianity, Christendom, in which the idea is to convert everybody in the world to the underneath the sovereign authority of the ecclesia, who make the proclamation to represent Christ, right? This is the proclamation to represent Christ. Even though the individual in which they adhere to, he's not of the same ethnicity of most of the people that are worshiping after him. It's very interesting, but that's fine. We're going to get into this. Like I said, there's a door and a window open purposely to allow certain people to cleave or to be grafted in. But what I'm saying is people should go back to their original identity if possible, unless they know and understand that they don't want to do that, and they are willing to give themselves over to another culture and cleave unto the culture. But first, they have to be aware of what's going on before they actually adhere to this. Okay, this is very interesting. Let's keep going, family. I just had to take a moment out and talk to y'all real quick. All right. Excuse me for a second. My nose is bothering me a little bit. Remember, I said Christendom, not Christianity. It's not. It sounds like it's a play on words and semantics. I'm giving semantic value to both, but I'm playing on it for you. But it's not, family. There's a difference between Christianity and Christendom. All right. So let's get into this, family. Let's get into this. All right. Let me finish. Let me finish. Pick up the slides again. Hold on one second. All right. Hope y'all all right. Hold on to your seats. You're not. The ride ain't over yet. Strap down. Don't go nowhere. All right. Let's go. Let's keep it going. All right. Hold on real quick. Let me share my screen. All right, let's keep it moving. Yep. All right. Okay. All right. Now, why am I bringing up St. Patrick? It's fun stuff, right? Why am I bringing up St. Patrick? Let's read it. Patrick was a 5th century Romano-British Christian missionary and bishop in Ireland. Okay. Remember, Ireland was heavily Gaelic and heavily Celtic. Okay. Druids also had a seat there because a lot of them, they left from the Iberian Peninsula and parts of Europe, and they made their way to Ireland and Scotland. Okay. And they settled in those areas. Okay. So listen to this. Much of what is known about St. Patrick comes from the Declaration, which was allegedly written by Patrick himself. It is believed that he was born in what? Roman Britain in the 4th century into a wealthy Romano-British family. His father was a deacon and his grandfather was a priest in the Christian church. According to the Declaration, at the age of 16, he was kidnapped by Irish raiders and taken as a slave to Gaelic Ireland. Okay. It says that he spent 6 years there working as a shepherd, and that during this time he found God. The declaration says that God told Patrick to flee to the coast where his ship will be waiting to take him home. After making his way home, Patrick went on to become a priest in what? Christianity. According to the tradition, Patrick returned to Ireland to convert the pagan Irish to Christianity. The country dwellers. We're going to get into that. The declaration says that he spent many years evangelizing in the northern half of Ireland and converted thousands. Patrick's efforts against who? The Druids were eventually turned into an allegory in which he drove snakes out of Ireland because he considered the Druid snakes. Why? Because that ancient priestly order was in opposition to not only Christianity, but to Christendom. And we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that. And I'm showing you this for a reason, because I showed you Samhain tied to the Gaelic, the Gaels, the Celts, and who the Druids was. That's all interconnected. I'm leading you to Samhain, which is one of the many festivals in which they celebrated. Now I'm showing you to a person who was responsible for converting these peoples en masse and going against the Druids, who were the people that were still retaining their indigenous culture. This is interesting. Let's keep reading it. It says, Patrick entered the Druids, blah, blah, blah. Tradition holds that he died on March 17th and was buried at Downpatrick. Over the following centuries, many legends grew up around Patrick, and he became Ireland's foremost saint. It's interesting, family. You have people today who celebrate St. Patrick's Day, Irish people that celebrate St. Patrick's Day, and they don't realize that this man is the individual responsible for helping to convert their ancestors away from the indigenous culture and into Christianity by way of the implementation of Christendom. Okay, family. But they want to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. They think St. Patrick's Day is their indigenous culture. It's not your indigenous culture. What happens is some of the indigenous practices and customs is encased in, guess what, St. Patrick's Day, right? But the name of the saint is over that actual celebration, which is actually bringing out the customs of these Irish peoples. And a lot of these peoples are Christian, but they also practice in a lot of the customs of their ancient ancestors. But they call this holiday in which they do it St. Patrick's Day. And St. Patrick was responsible for evangelizing and converting all of their ancestors over to Christianity by way of Christendom. I mean, how ironic is that? It's deep, family. It's deep. Mimi pot of gold, right? The leprechauns and four-leaf clovers that he's actually holding. See this, family? See this? Now, mind you, when this picture was drawn, it was drawn in the medieval period, right? But when he lived, it was in the 5th century. Keep that in mind, family. Let's move forward. Halloween. Contraction of Hallows Eve, a holiday observed on what? October 31st, the evening before All Saints or All Hallows Day. The celebration marks the day before the Western Christian feast of All Saints and initiates the season of All Hallowtide, which lasts 3 days and concludes with All Souls Day. In much of Europe and most of North America, observance of Halloween is largely non-religious. Halloween had its origins in the festival of what? Samhain. Among the Celts of ancient Britain and Ireland, on the day corresponding to November 1st on contemporary calendars, the new year was believed to begin. All right? And this other stuff here, I forgot to delete. But a lot of these sources are coming from Encyclopedia Britannica, a few coming from Wikipedia, and a few coming from other public domain websites, all right, that I'm gathering this information from. So I threw this together real quick so I can do this presentation for you, okay? So I'm not claiming rights to any of the information that I'm showing you. I did not write any of these things. I'm just using it as a means of education for fair rights use purposes, all right? So now we see the origins of where Halloween comes from. Hallows Eve comes from Samhain. So if Halloween comes from the festival of Samhain, which means summer's end, then people are invoking not only the entities of the deities, but the customs and cultures of these ancient indigenous people that were then converted by Christianity. So the question is this, family: did Christianity do a favor to the world by converting indigenous peoples over to the religion? Is that are we going to say that? Is that the truth? I'm not into conversion, family. That's not what I'm here for. I'm not here to proselytize, convert, anything like that. My culture is for me and my peoples and anybody else that want to surrender their heritage and their linking to other entities and to other cultures and to other customs and practices of their ancestors and want to cleave under the Elohim of Yisrael. Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh. So my principles, my precepts, My lifestyle is all centered around what I subscribe to be the pre-exilic practices of my ancient ancestors. So those who want to cleave unto this, y'all can cleave unto it, but you must surrender every and anything that is residual of your previous customs, cultures, and practices. Because once you come into this kingdom, your citizenship is of this kingdom, and it's not a secular one. You cannot mix the two. Oil and water don't mix. Okay, family. Okay, let's move forward. Now, I don't want to read all of this. There's a lot of information, but I'm going to leave it up on the screen so y'all can read it yourself. But what I'm showing this is the many various customs that are done during Samhain, i.e. Hallows Eve or Halloween, okay? So it says, it's a kindred festival was held at the same time of the year by the Brittonic Celts called the Caelan Gaith in Wales, the Calan Gwav in Cornwall, and the Calan Goan in Britain, a name meaning first of winter, because that's when they believe that winter began to start, okay? And it says the names have been used by historians to refer to Celtic Halloween customs up until the 19th century and are still Gaelic and Welsh names for Halloween. Okay, now let's look at some of these customs here. All right, let's see. Most scholars see ARC as degraded versions of ancient gods whose power remained active in the people's minds even after they had been officially replaced by later religious beliefs. Whoa, that's really deep. That's really deep, family. The ARC were both respected and feared, with individuals often invoking the protection of God when approaching their dwellings. At Samhain, it was believed that the AOC needed to be propitiated. Propitiation, that's also a term used in the Bible, and that means an appeasement by way of a blood sacrifice, right? Or a covering for something, propitiation of sins, to ensure that the people in their livestock survive the winter. So they had to appease the gods so that the gods can watch over them during the winter time when everything dies, okay? It says offerings of food and drink or portions of the crops were left outside, and you'll see people when they practice Halloween, they get these harvest-looking objects, and they place it by their doorstep, and they place it around the house. You know, those fall-looking objects that you use for decoration and so forth. Yeah, this is what y'all doing. This is what everybody's doing. This is not even your culture. Give it back to the people whose culture it is, man. Stop being culture vultures. Keep going in. Keep going in. It says, were left outside the AOC. The souls of the dead were also said to revisit their homes seeking hospitality. Places were set at the dinner table and by the fire to welcome them. Because normally around this time, people gather around the fire, and or outside, sometimes people make the bonfires. And some of these people are not even the descendants of the indigenous people who created the culture, right? But this is where the custom comes from, okay? It says the belief that the souls of the dead return home on one night of the year and must be appeased seems to have ancient origins and is found in many cultures throughout the world. In the 19th century Ireland, candles would be lit and prayers formally offered for the souls of the dead. After this, the eating, drinking, and games would begin. You know, when you go outside and you start acting mischievous, yeah. Throughout Ireland, Britain, the household festivities included rituals and games intended to foretell one's future, especially regarding death and marriage. Apples, you know, when you go apple bobbing, and nuts were also used in these divination rituals. They included apple bobbing, nut roasting, you know, chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Oh, wait, that's Christmas? Oh, my bad. Wait, hold on, fam. Let's go back. Scrying or mirror gazing, pouring molten lead or egg whites into water, dream interpretation, and others. Special bonfires were lit, and there were rituals involving them. Their flame, smoke, and ashes were deemed to have protective and cleansing powers, and also used for divinations. In some places, torches lit from the bonfire were carried sunwise around homes and fields to protect them. It is suggested that the fires were a kind of imitative or sympathetic magic. They mimicked the sun, helping the powers of growth and holding back the decay of darkness of the winter. In Scotland, these bonfires and divination games were banned by who? Church elders in some parishes. Let the people practice their culture, man. They ain't bothering you. In Wales, bonfires were lit to prevent the souls of the dead from falling to the earth. Later, these bonfires served to keep away the devil. Oh my God. It's crazy. I might as well just read the rest of it. From the 16th century, the festival included mumming and guising in Ireland, Scotland, and the Isle of Man in Wales. This involved people going house to house in costume or in disguise, usually reciting songs or verses in exchange for food. Wow. It may have originally been a tradition whereby people impersonate the IOC. Please look up the IOC. You need to understand who these entities are and what this is. or the souls of the dead and receive offering on their behalf, similar to the custom of souling. Ooh, it's deep. Impersonating these beings or wearing a disguise was also believed to protect oneself from them. It is suggested that the murmurs and geysers personify the old spirits of the winter who demanded reward in exchange for good fortune. In parts of Southern Ireland, the geysers included a hobby horse. A man dressed as Lair Bon, a white mare, led youths house to house, reciting verses, some of which had pagan, quote-unquote, overtones in exchange for food. If the household donated food, it could expect good fortune from the Muk Ola. Did you know that? When you give food or candy to kids who saying trick-or-treat, guess what? You're trying to get good fortune from Muk Ola. If that's not your culture, why are you practicing somebody else's culture? Give it back to them. It's theirs. Come on, family. Not doing so will what? Bring misfortune, hence trick or treat. In Scotland, youths went house to house with masks, painted or blackened faces, often threatening to do mischief if they were not welcome. F. Mary McKeel suggests that the ancient festival included people in costume representing the spirits, and that faces were marked or blackened with ashes taken from the sacred bonfire. In parts of Wales, men went about dressed as fearsome beings called the Gwachcard. Excuse me if I'm messing that up. In the late 19th and early 20th century, young people in Glamorgan and Orkney cross-dressed. Interesting. Elsewhere in Europe, mumming and hobby horses were part of the yearly festivals. However, in Celtic-speaking regions, they were particularly appropriate to a night upon which supernatural beings were said to be abroad and could be imitated or warded off by human wanderers. From at least the 18th century, imitating malignant spirits led to playing pranks in Ireland and Scottish Highlands. Wearing costumes and playing pranks at Halloween spread in the 20th century. Traditionally, pranksters used hollowed-out turnips or mango wurzels, often carved in grotesque faces, as lanterns. By those who made them, the lanterns were variously said to represent the spirits. You know, when you carry that jack-o'-lantern, interesting. Or were used to ward off evil spirits. They were common in parts of Ireland and the Scottish Highlands in the 19th century, as well as Somerset or Punky Night. In the 20th century, they spread to other parts of England and became generally known as what? Jack-o'-lanterns. Man, this is good. Hold on, family. Hold on. I gotta stop for a second. I gotta stop. Come on, family. All right, family. I need y'all to hit one if you're enjoying this, because I'm not finished yet. I'm getting there, family. I'm getting there. If you're enjoying this, hit one. If you're enjoying this, hit one. Someone says your screen is acting up bad. Hold on, my screen is acting up bad. Wait, let me see. Okay, hit one if you're enjoying this, and hit two if the quality is still good. It says screen is blocked. I don't know what that means. Hopefully you was able to see the screen. Hold on, let me see. All right, hold on one second, family. All right. I'm gonna go through the slides again because I don't know if y'all saw all the slides, but I want y'all to see the slides. All right, let me test. I want to test to make sure that the slides are working as well. So let me do this. Let me do this. Let me do this.
Okay, I said no sound.
Let me do this. Okay. All right, family. So, all right, the sound is back. You should be able to hear me now. Let me just make sure that y'all can see the screen.
Yes.
All right, let's see. I'm looking and I see that everything looks like it's working. Hold on, let me see. Hold on, family. I'm just testing it out, make sure everything's working fine before I finish. Okay, yeah, I see the screen. I don't know what y'all saying, man. Everything looks fine to me. All right, but let me continue. Let me continue. Hold on. All right. So, what do we learn so far, family? We learned who the Celts were. We learned who the Gaels were. We learned who the Druids were. After we learned those people, we learned some of the practices that they had, which was Samhain. Okay, and we learned about Saint Patrick and what he did in the name of Christendom, right? And then we learned about Halloween and how Halloween is rooted in Samhain. And then we see all the practices and customs of Halloween, and we saw where it comes from. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back to the screen, family. I'm gonna go back to the screen. I want y'all to see what I'm looking at right now. All right, just give me a second, family. I got y'all. Give me a second. Give me a second. All right, let me pull y'all back in. All right. So we learned about those things. All right, the Samhain. We learned about one of the major people that's responsible for conquering the rest of these people who's keeping their customs and cultures. And then later on, it got worse. Okay, but I'm going to show you this. Let's read this, family. Historical definition of crusade. The Crusades were a series of holy wars called by popes with the promise of indulgences for those who fought in them and directed against external and internal enemies of Christendom for the recovery of Christian property. Wow. Christian property is land. Okay. Christian property is items and jewelry and gold and houses and homes. And it's also people. Look up one of the definitions of spirituality. It is part of the property that is owned by the church. Okay. The church is there to take your spirituality, not give it to you. Okay. And when I speak about church, I'm not talking about the ecclesia. I'm talking about Kirk, Circe, going back to Mother Circe, the church. That's what I'm talking about, family. Okay. Or in defense of the church or Christian people, all right? Now, what you're looking at here, family, is part of the catechism, right? The Roman Catholic Catechism, okay? And I want to read some things to you, okay? A quick quote says, in virtue of the rebirth in Christ, there exists among all the faithful, Christian faithful, a very foundation is continued by the bishops under the primacy of the Pope for the Roman pontiff by reason of his office as vicar of Christ. Vicar means in place of Christ. And as pastor for the lay people, this evangelization is there to acquire a specific property. This is what the purpose of the church is, to take property, possessions, land, people in the name of Christendom. Okay? This is what happened to those Gaelic peoples, those Celtic peoples, those Druid priests. They were robbed of their culture, their traditions, all right, their social memory, everything, their oral, everything was taken from them, right? And not only was it taken from them, it became part of secular culture, where people are now engaging in things without respecting where it came from, without venerating their ancestors and the gods in which they were doing these practices to appease. So now everybody's doing it. And now you're just letting, all of these practices in your home, around your family, even taking your kids to do this, family. You don't understand it. People say, oh, but I'm not worshiping no other gods. I'm just doing this for the kids and so forth. But you don't even know where these practices come from. By you doing a particular practice, you're invoking these entities. You're getting their attention. That is what you're doing. You are inviting mischief, right? You're inviting all these other feelings and invocations and proclamations. This is stuff that you're doing when you engage in these customs, because you're engaging in somebody's culture and you don't even understand the origin or what this practice is for. This is very important, family, very important. But let's keep reading. So we go to Catechism 934. It says, among the Christian faithful by divine institution, there exists in the church sacred ministers who are called clerics in law, and other Christian faithful who are called the laity. In both groups, there are those Christian faithful who, professing the evangelical counsels, are consecrated to God to serve the church's saving mission. Who's the church saving people from? The church is there to save people from their own culture, because their culture is country dwelling or paganism or heathenistic, or you're heretics and you must be burned at the stake because you cannot keep your culture or your custom, because you must be ruled by the iron hand of Christendom. Okay, let's keep going, family. 935, to proclaim the faith and to plant his reign. What? To proclaim the faith and plant his reign. Christ sends his apostles to their successors. He gives them a share in his own mission From him they received the power to act in his person. The Lord made St. Peter the visible foundation of his church. He entrusted the keys of the church to him. The bishop of the Church of Rome, successor to Peter, is the head of the College of Bishops, the vicar of Christ, and the pastor of the universal church on earth. The Pope enjoys, that's interesting they use that term, enjoys, by divine institution, what? Supreme, full, immediate, and universal power in the care of souls. If you are under the influence of Christendom, the Pope owns your soul. The bishops established by the Holy Spirit succeeded the apostles. They are the visible source and foundation of unity in their own particular churches. Helped by the priests, their co-workers, and by deacons, the bishops have the duty of authentically teaching the faith, celebrating divine worship, above all the Eucharist, and guiding their churches as true pastors. Their responsibility also includes concern for all the churches with and under the Pope. The characteristic of the lay state being a life led in the midst of the world and of secular affairs, lay people are called by God to make of their apostolate through the vigor of their Christian spirit a leaven in the world. Lay people share in Christ's priesthood, ever more united with them. They exhibit the grace of baptism and confirmation in all dimensions of their personal, family, social, and ecclesial lives, and so fulfill the call to holiness addressed to all the baptized. By virtue of their prophetic mission, lay people are called to be witnesses to Christ in all circumstances and at that very heart of the community of mankind. By virtue of their kingly mission, lay people have the power to uproot the rule of sin within themselves and in the world by their self-denial and holiness of life. The life consecrated to God is characterized by the public profession of evangelical counsels of poverty, chastity, and obedience in a stable of life recognized by the church. Already destined for him through baptism, the person who surrenders himself to God, he loves above all else, thereby consecrates himself more intimately to God's service and to the good of the whole church, which is ruled by the papacy. So all of this evangelical work, family, was instituted initially by the church fathers, and then later on by the Catholic Church, the universal church that believes in ecumenicalism, which is the gathering of all peoples under one common idea, belief, ideology, and religion. So missionary work is designed to bring indigenous foreign peoples who are considered pagans or country dwellers into the rule and reign of Christendom. So even though you may be a Protestant, you still have the mindset of the Christendom of the Roman Catholic Church. This is not saying that Christianity is wicked and evil and that people who are Christians are wicked and evil. That's not what this is for. I'm trying to get you to understand what Christendom is as opposed to just the religion Christianity. Christendom is the political imposition and implementation of the religion of Christianity onto all peoples of the world to bring them all under the rule and control and reign of the universal church or the universal body of Christ. So what you're saying, without saying it, is that anybody that you convert over to Christianity, they had a way of life that was not appeasing to the God or the egregore of your religion. So this is why I'm not a fan of proselytization. When ancient Israel was in, hold on, family, I got to see my face. Hold on. When ancient Israel was in their sovereign capacity over their land, they did not go and proselytize. Their culture was for themselves and the strangers that live within their borders. That's who it was for. It wasn't for nobody outside of that. It wasn't a religion. It was a culture. Do you understand, family? They were defending their culture. They were supporting their culture. They were encouraging their culture amongst the people within their reigns and rules and borders. This is very important, family. Very, very important. So I want to show you two more things, and then I'm going to wrap this up before it gets too late. Okay? I'm going to wrap this up. All right? Share this link, family. Share this link. People who are just jumping in, you can always scroll back and watch the rest of it. All right? But family, you got to give this culture back to the people who it is. Anybody who's watching this who has any kind of Gaelic, Celtic, Druid, Irish, Scottish history, this is your culture. It is okay for you to celebrate Samhain. That's one of the festivals of your culture. You should return back to your indigenous culture unless you are aware of what your indigenous culture is and you want to abdicate it or you want to abandon it in favor of cleaving unto another culture, not religion, another culture, so you can be recognized by the entity of that culture and you can partake in the practices of that culture. So when people who look at a text called the Bible and you ask them, well, what people's culture is this? They will say the Jews. So if this is the Jews' culture, are you willingly laying aside your ancestral lineage, rich history, culture, customs, etc., in order to cleave unto the culture of these other people? Once you're able to make a conscientious decision of that, then that choice that you make is genuine because you understand that you are abdicating your citizenship from one realm to the citizenship of another realm, which is the kingdom of Shamayim or the kingdom of the Elohim. Okay, which is divine counsel, rule and reign by El Shaddai, the one that made a covenant with Abraham, who was later on took on the avatar title of Yod He Wav He, who is also El Elyon, the Most High, who is supreme and the creator of all in the divine council and all the inhabitants of the earth. It's important, family. History is your best teacher. Those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. So if you're going to lay down your ancestral history or culture, you have to understand why. You cannot gravitate towards another culture of people and then say, I'm going to surrender myself to this culture, but yet you're going to pull in other customs, cultures, and traditions of other nations, of other peoples, of other customs and practices, and think that you are still a part of this rich culture that you decided to become a part of. No, you're not. You're no longer part of that culture. You know why? Because those practices are not in the text that you're subscribing to. They're not there. That's just like me. If I'm a practicing Celt, right? And no, not practicing Celt. That I return back to my culture of being a Celtic Gaelic individual, and I decide to practice Samhain as one of the four major festivals of my culture. And in practicing this and living this lifestyle, because Wiccan is also part of this as well. And Wiccan is not always bad per se. It depends on the motive behind a person that uses it. Again, that's that culture. That's not my culture. My culture tells me don't engage in anything that has to do with witches or wizards or warlocks. That's what my culture tells me. So I don't engage in that. But the people who do engage in that, that's their culture. And it doesn't bother or affect me because I'm protected by my cultural patron deity, because I'm subscribing to the cultural precept that he has laid down in order for tutelary spirits to surround and encompass me to protect me from those other entities. But the moment that I bring in the customs and the cultures and traditions of other peoples, of other nations, of other gods and deities into my culture, and then say I subscribe to the Elohim of Yisrael, I'm deceiving myself, family. This thing is deeper than what you think. Look up egregore. I say this all the time, and people don't even research what that means. It is a thought form idea in which when you get enough people and sway enough people to subscribe to it and invoke worship unto this idea, it takes on a life of its own. And now it can reach out, touch things, and control things. It becomes an imagination in the mind that then becomes conceived and become manifested in your actions. And you have no clue why you're doing certain things, because you have brought in the egregore thought form into your mind and opened up the portal for the entities to come in, because you're practicing the customs of the peoples who subscribe to these deities. And you are disrespecting those powers and those entities who empowered the people who were they the deities over to create these customs to appease them. Now you're disrespecting the culture, so these entities have every right to attack you. Every right to attack you. You have no right using these customs, no right using a culture, stealing the culture of another people, and then practicing as a secular festival or a secular holiday. Family, you are treading on thin ground. You are encroaching upon territory that's not yours, but yet you want the Elohim of Yisrael to protect you. How can he do that when you're introducing the customs of other deities and entities? He said to Israel, do not go the ways of the heathen. Do not be dismayed by their signs. Okay? Do not go after their customs and their cultures. Don't do that. That is not for you. Okay, family. Okay. All right, family. All right, family. Let me show you two more slides. I pretty much gave you my conclusion, but let me show you two more slides. I'm going to end this. I don't want to hold y'all too long. I'm going to end this. All right. Let's go into this, family. Let's go into this. Let's go into this, man. I know some people got some stuff to say, but let me show you these two things. All right. Let me bring it out real quick. Hold on. All right. I don't want nobody getting their feelings. Listen to this objectively, family. This is not to hurt your feelings. All right. Okay. Let's get this first one. All right. Let me share my screen with y'all real quick. All right. First, family, let's look up this word, pagan. All right. Look up this word, pagan. Pagan is from Online Etymology Dictionary. Late 14th century, from the late Latin paganus, pagan, and classical Latin, villager, rustic, civilian, non-combatant. Non-combatant. Wow. And I made a post on pagan before, man. It's crazy. People got mad over it, but it's all good. Noun use of adjective meaning of the country, of the village, from pagus, country people, province, rural district. Originally district limited by markers, thus related to Pangaea, to fix, fatten, from the PIE root pag, to fasten, an adjective from the early 15th century. Religious sense is often said to derive from conservative rural adherence to the old gods after the Christianization of Roman towns and cities. But the word in this sense predates that period in church history, and it is more likely derived from the use of paganist and Roman military jargon for civilian or incompetent soldier, which Christians, Tertullian and Augustine, picked up with the military imagery of the early church applied to modern pantheists and nature worshippers from 1908. So family, look at this, family. So you have a term that is pulled from the use of the Latin from the Roman military that is used and introduced by Christians because the idea is Christendom. You're looking at the religion of Christianity as if it's a military campaign against people who are country dwellers who want to adhere to their own God, their old gods, their old practices, their old way of life, and you want to Christianize them. In a sense, you want to militarily conquest them. So every time you use that word, you are invoking the spirit of Christendom. Okay. Pagan and heathen are primarily the same in meaning, but pagan is sometimes distinctively applied to those nations that, although worshiping quote-unquote false gods, are more cultivated. What? As the Greeks and Romans, and heathen to uncivilized idolaters as the tribes of Africa. A Mohammedan is not counted a pagan, much less a heathen. Family, did you just see what I said? Let me read this again. Pagan and heathen are primarily the same in meaning, but pagan is sometimes distinctively applied to those nations that, although worshiping false gods according to who? The God of Christianity or Christendom, are more cultivated, or more civilized. City, civilization, family. You gotta research this stuff. As the Greeks and Romans. Why would I want to be as civilized as the Greeks and Romans when the Greeks and Romans had empires to Hellenize people and also impose their rule and reign as a mass empire and bring everybody as a citizen under their reign, and then was later on continued with the Roman Catholic Church. So why would I not be okay with being called a pagan, family? It says, and heathen to uncivilized idolaters as the tribes of Africa. Now they're calling all the tribes of Africa what? Heathens, uncivilized idolaters. That's interesting. Even though there were some Israelites in West Africa who still kept their ancient pre-Exilic customs and cultures, and some of them were isolates who were later migrated there from the southern tribes, but the northern tribes predated them. If they were seen by these Christians, they would be called uncivilized idolaters. If ancient Israel was still in existence today, Christians will call them idolaters. Christians, the ancient pre-Exilic Israelite customs, cultures, and practices, they will call them heathens. They will call them uncivilized barbarians. Family. Let's keep reading. The English surname Paine, look at this. The English surname Paine appears by old records to be from Latin paganus. So if your last name is Paine, Martin Paine, it comes from the Latin paganus. But whether in the sense villager, rustic, or heathen is disputed, it was also a common Christian name in 13th century and was no doubt given without any thought of its meaning. But today, you know what it is. Do not use this word loosely. It is a misnomer for people who want to keep their ancient ancestral culture, customs, and practices. They are uncivilized. Why? Because they have not been controlled and conquered by the state-sponsored religion of Christianity in the guise of Christendom. This is deep, family. I'm just giving you the history. I'm just giving you the facts. Don't try to shoot the messenger. I didn't make this up. I didn't write this. Okay. Let me show you one last thing, family. Let me show you one last thing. And then we're going home. All right. I know some of y'all might I know some of y'all might be liberated by watching this. I know some of y'all might be a little stirred up, might be a little bothered, might be a little, he just said that, a little jarred. Family, we got to get rid of taboo. Taboo is killing us, family. We need to address the things that are considered taboo, and we need to deal with them head on, family. I'm not here to condemn nobody. I'm not here to belittle nobody. I'm not here to talk bad. If you're a Christian, you celebrate Halloween, that's your prerogative. All I'm here to do is give you the history so you can understand what is taking place. That is all I'm saying. All I'm saying is you should not be taking somebody else's culture and adopting it as if it's your own. It's not your culture. Give it back to the people whose practice it is. And don't demonize them for practicing their own ancient ancestral root culture. That's their lifestyle. That's their business. Give it back to the people of Gaelic and Celtic origin. That's their practices. That's theirs. Let them have it. Mind your business. You should not have any fear of them if you have trust in your power. Why are you worried about them? Okay. Trying to show you some strongholds here, how to defeat it. It's very easy. Learn history, family. Learn history. And do your best to filter out practicing customs that's not your own. And I'm a work in progress. I'm not perfect. I'm not there yet. I'm on the journey. But as I'm on the journey, I turn back to reach a hand back to help somebody else who's behind me come right beside me. Somebody has stumbled and fell. I reach my hand down to pick them up. All right. If I'm strong and I can get over an obstacle, but a person can't, I'm there to lift them up. So I'm there to put my hand back, put my hand down, and put my hand up, family. That's what I'm here to do as a servant. That's what I'm here to do. And this is why I give you these guys, these unadulterated information. Unfiltered, family. It's the raw truth. Straight chase. No rocks. This is what it is, family. And I'm doing it out of love. A hub for my mishpachah, my family. Okay? So let's look at this last thing. I'm going to show you Celtic polytheism. Because whenever you do a custom from Hallows Eve or Halloween, which is Samhain, you are actually giving tribute or appeasing these other entities. And if you don't know who these entities are, you know, you have Christians talk about spiritual warfare all the time, but do you know what entities you're fighting against? You got a jack-o'-lantern in your home. You got these broomsticks outside your door, and you have all of these crops and corns and stuff outside your door. You know, you dressing your children up in Halloween costumes, and you bringing them trick or treating, and people are giving them items, and people are worried. Oh man, I don't want no poison in my child's candy. Then don't celebrate the holiday. You got to worry about that. Oh, I'm worried about something happens to my kids outside. Then don't go outside because that's not part of your culture. We need to teach the youth this. They have to learn the truth. This is the only way you can. This is not the only way. The main way you can defeat a spiritual power that is encroaching upon your liberty and Yahuwah, the Torah, Yahushua HaMashiach. The only way you can be liberated, you got to filter these customs out. Because how can you expect the Most High Yah to secure and protect, patronize and protect you and overlook you and oversee you, lead you and guide you in all his ways and understanding if you're bringing other customs in that he did not ordain for you to practice? Like I said before, you're leaving the citizenship of one nation and you're yielding that citizenship for the citizenship of another nation. You cannot bring those laws that you are used to adhering to and those liberties in that nation into another nation. The game is different, family. You have to be respectful to the customs and cultures of that place that you decide you want to have citizenship at. It's the same way in regards to culture. Now, some people give a misnomer and call religion. Religion is there to hold you back, to bind you, family. I don't practice religion. This is a liberating culture. And I'm giving you guys the straight truth. So let's look at these Celtic entities, because I want you to see who it is that you're invoking. If you decide you want to take part in another ancient people's customs and traditions, this is who you're invoking. You need to know, because you want to fight spiritual warfare. You got to know these entities that you're fighting. Any of these practices, these holidays, or whatever that you're inviting these other entities, and they're setting a stronghold in your home, in your mind, in your walk with Yah, and your walk with whatever your other culture, your practices may be. This is a wake-up call, family. Okay. All right, family. I need y'all to understand this, man. Y'all gotta stop being skittish, man. Seriously. All right, man and woman up. Right. When the Most High talked to Job, he said, "Stand up like a man." What you doing? Talk to Jeremiah. Man up. Stand up and man up. Deal with it. Take it. Handle it. Truth is not there to be pretty, family. It's there to reform you. It's there to transform you. It's there to take you to another level, family. Yield to it. And this is something I'm still wrestling with myself. Not with this particular subject matter, but with other things. I had to filter it out because I was not raised in my indigenous culture. I'm trying to return back to. I'm trying to reconstruct it for the community at large. So let's look at these Celtic entities. Okay, I want you guys to understand this stuff. Right? Let me show you this. I'm gonna show you two things real quick. All right. I'm gonna show you my screen real quick. Hold on. All right. The ASC, I hope I'm saying that right. All right. The ASC, older from ASCT, is the Irish term for a supernatural race in Irish mythology and Scottish mythology, comparable to the fairies or elves. They were said to live underground in fairy mounds across, some of y'all dress your children up in fairies and elves for Halloween. Excuse me, not Christmas. Christmas do take a lot of practices from the Celtic Druids. So that's another subject matter altogether. But some of y'all dress your kids up as dwarves and fairies and elves. All right, let's read it. Okay. It says, across the Western Sea on an invisible world that coexists with the human world. The world is described in the Libor Gabala Erin as a parallel universe in which the AOC walk among the living. In the Irish language, AOC means people of the mounds. The mounds are known in Irish as the Sidhi. In Irish literature, the people of the mounds are also called the Dying Sidhi. In Scottish mythology, they're called the Dying Sith. They are variously said to be the ancestors, the spirits of nature, or the gods and goddesses. In Gaelic mythology, we went over Gaelic before, the Gaels. In Gaelic tales, the AOC are later literary versions of the Tuatha De Danann, the people of the goddess Danu, the deities and deified ancestors of Irish mythology. So, fam, when you do these customary practices, you're appeasing the deities within Irish mythology. Some sources describe them as the survivors of the Tuatha De Danann who retreated into the other world. Other world is another concept of this culture that you also partake in. All right, when you do these customs, you're also partaking in what they believe about the other world. After they were defeated by the Milesians, the mortal sons of Mil Espini, who, like many other early invaders of Ireland, came from Iberia. Okay, it's that Iberia is the Spain, where Spain and Portugal is today. Geoffrey Keaton, an Irish historian of the late 17th century, equates Iberia with the what? Land of the dead. That's where the Gauls were at, family. Research the Gauls. Look them up. In Gaelic folklore, in folk belief and practice, the AOC are often appeased with offerings. When you give candy for Halloween. No, I'm not partaking. I'm just setting aside snacks and candy to give it to the kids. Well, this is who you worshiping, family. This is who you appeasing. And care is taken to avoid what? Angering or insulting them. This is why you feel compelled to give candy and goods on Halloween. Because these spirits you've invited into your home by putting a jack-o'-lantern in your home, carving out a pumpkin and saying Happy Halloween on your house. They're going to say, oh, well, hold on. They invited us to their home. Let's see if they're going to appease us. Okay, let's keep watching. It says, often they are not named directly, but rather spoken as the good neighbors, the fair folk, or simply the folk. The most common names for them is AOC, etc. We went over this, right? AOC are sometimes seen as fierce guardians of their abodes, whether a fairy hill, a fairy ring, a special tree, often a hawthorn, or a particular larch or wood. Hence why the Gaelic peoples, why they always have their practices around hawthorn trees, hollow woods, like, where you get Hollywood from, the hollowed wood. That's a Druid. I'm not even going to get into that. You'll research that. Okay. The Gaelic otherworld is seen as closer at the times of dusk and dawn. Therefore, this is a special time to the AOC, as some festivals such as Samhain, Beltane, and Midsummer. Family, Samhain? Family? When you partake in Halloween, you're taking up the Irish peoples, the ancient Celts. You're taking their culture, and you're invoking these entities. The Sidhi are the hills of the Tumuli, that dot the Irish landscape. In modern Irish, the word is sea. In Scottish Gaelic, sit. And Old Irish seed and singular seed. So we learn how the Gaelics are mostly the Scottish and the Celts are the Irish, etc. And a number of later English language texts, the word city is incorrectly used both for mounds and the people of the mounds, etc., etc. Right? Others present these stories as mythology deriving from Greek cultural influence, deriving arguments mainly from Hesiod's works and days, which portrays the basic moral foundation and plantation techniques of the citizens of Greece and describes the races of men created by the Greek deities. The story of the Aes Sedai is found all over Scotland and Ireland, many tales referring to how the Norse invaders, right? You want to know about the Germanic culture? You got to look at the Norse mythology. Drove Scottish inhabitants underground to live in the hills. This part of the legend continues to the challenging myth in their West European folklore. All right. The Banshee, you know, there's a Marvel comic book character called the Banshee, right? Which means woman of the Cid, has come to indicate any supernatural woman of Ireland who announces a coming death by wailing or kneeing. Her counterpart in Scottish mythology is Bean Seath. Other varieties of Eosif and Daoine Seath include the Scottish Bean Neag, the washer woman who is seen washing the bloody clothing or armor of the person whom is doomed to die. All right, so I'm gonna stop right there. Here, if you want to see the ARC, here's all the various entities that are part of that mythology. And this is you invoking a lot of these spiritual strongholds into your home, family. You inviting them. You're telling them, hey, come on in. You know, I'm celebrating Samhain. I'm gonna act like I'm a Celt or a Gael individual. That's what I'm gonna do. You know, I'm the priest over my home. I'm a Druid. This is what people are doing. Give them back their culture. Okay, a collection of beliefs and practices observed by those who wish to keep good relationships with AOCs and avoid angering them. The custom of offering milk and traditional foods such as baked goods, apples, and berries to the AOC has survived through the Christian era into the present day in parts of Ireland, Scotland, and the diaspora. Those who maintain some degree of belief in AOCs also are aware to leave their sacred places alone and protect them from damages through road or housing construction. A hawthorn tree, considered in local Irish law and Celtic folklore in general to be sacred to the AOC. The hawthorn tree is very sacred to these entities or to these deities. Okay. All right. Celtic polytheism. I'm not going to read all of this. It's a lot of information. But what I want you to look at this: votive offerings, human sacrifices, head hunting. The Druids were part of the Celtic polytheistic system. The calendar. Oh man, some feast days in the medieval Irish calendar have sometimes been speculated to descend from prehistoric festivals, especially by comparison to terms found in the Coligny calendar. The concerns of Beltane in particular, that's another celebration in particular, which attributed ancient origin by medieval Irish writers. The festivals of what? Samhain and Imbolc are not associated with paganism or Druidry in Irish legend, but there have nevertheless been suggestions of a prehistoric background since the 19th century in the case of Samhain. Okay, let me go into Christianization. The conversion of Christianity inevitably has a profound effect on the social religious system from the 5th century onward, though its character can only be extrapolated from documents of considerable late date. By the early 7th century, the church had succeeded in regulating Irish Druids to ignominious irrelevancy, while the Philid, masters of traditional training, operated in easy harmony with their clerical counterparts, contriving at the same time to retain a considerable part of their pre-Christian tradition, social status, and privilege. All right, y'all can read the rest of this. I want you to read all the customs and practices, because when you engage in Halloween or Samhain, you are invoking these entities. All right, you're invoking these entities. You got to do the research. So let me stop. So let me go back and say this. Let me end off. All right, Christians who are hearing this, if you have Irish or Scottish lineage, if your family goes back to the ancient Celts or the Gael people, excuse me, no stuffing, or the ancient Gael peoples or Gaelic individuals, Halloween is your indigenous holiday. It's your holy day. It's your Kodesh, your set apart day, your Kodesh Yom, your set apart day. It is there for you. But you can make a decision whether or not you want to keep it or reject it. If you desire that Christianity which was done in the name of Christendom, which converted your ancestors to a religion, is greater, then wholeheartedly subscribe to Christianity. But Christianity is not opposed to Halloween, because many Christians practice Halloween. But you should be appalled that people are not venerating the practices of your ancient ancestors, that they are disgracing them. It should be disgusting to you. It should be appalling to you. You should tell a man, stop doing that. That's the culture of my ancient ancestors. If you do decide you want to practice it, more power to you. It does not affect me because I'm not practicing it. And whatever entities you deal with or is not bothering me. You know why? Because I try to refrain from any practices as part of your culture. So I don't infringe upon the territory of those entities and advocate my protection for my patron deity. So what I'm saying is, Christians who have that lineage and that background, it's okay for you to go back and practice Halloween because it's part of your culture. But for everybody else, that's not your culture. You should leave it alone and allow it to rest in peace, because you are inviting spirits, because you're encroaching upon, all right, their realm. You're invoking them ignorantly, and you're not aware of it. And you wonder why so many spiritual attacks are coming upon you, because you're inviting other entities in your home by saying, oh, it's just a holiday. It's not a big deal. Interesting. Those of y'all who are Hebrew Israelites, y'all can do whatever y'all want to do. Those of y'all Christians, y'all do whatever y'all want to do. But from my personal perspective, I would refrain from engaging in any of the customs or practices of another ancestral group of people, taking in their customs and traditions when the Most High said, matter of fact, let's go to the scriptures. I got to bring y'all to the scriptures. Y'all might think I'm just talking out my, you know what. So let's go into the scriptures, man. Let's do this. Let's do this. So y'all know where I'm coming from, man. I'm not. Let's go in. Let's go in. All right. Let's go to the scriptures, man. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 9. I'm gonna read it for y'all. When you enter the land, Yahuwah your Elohim is giving you, do not learn to imitate the detestable ways of the nations there. Okay. When you enter the land which Yahuwah or Yah your Elohim gives you, you shall not learn to imitate the detestable things of those nations. Do not imitate the detestable customs of those nations. He's telling you, do not imitate, do not learn, do not take on the customs of other nations. When he rewards you, he gave your ancestors land, said, do not take the customs of other nations. Okay. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 2. This is what Yah says. Do not learn the ways of the nations or be terrified by their signs in the heavens, though the nations are terrified from them. For the customs of the peoples are delusion. And he goes on to say, because it is the wood cut from the forest, the work of the hands of a craftsman cut in a tool, etc., etc. He's saying, do not partake in the customs of other nations, not just their gods. Oh, you want to see that too? All right, let's go after the gods. All right, let me bring it up. I need y'all to see this. It's very important. For Devarim, chapter 6, verse 14. Well, let's go to verse 13. It says, you shall fear only Yahuwah your Elohim, and you shall not worship, and you shall worship him and swear by his name. You shall not follow other Elohim, any of the Elohim of the peoples who surround you. For Yahuwah your Elohim in the midst of you is a jealous power. Otherwise, the anger of Yahuwah your Elohim will be kindled against you, and he will wipe you off the face of the earth. Are y'all hearing this, family? Are y'all listening to what thus saith Yah from the Torah and the Tanakh? I'm not saying this. He's saying this. Joshua 23:7 says, do not associate with these nations that remain among you. Even if other nations or people live among you, do not associate with these nations. Do not invoke the names of their Elohim or swear by them. You must not serve them or bow down to them, but you ought to cling to Yahuwah your Elohim as you have done to this day. I'm not saying this, family. When Yahuwah Elohim cuts off before you the nations which you are going in to dispossess, and you dispossess them and dwell in their land, beware that you are not ensnared to follow them after they are destroyed before you, and that you do not inquire after their Elohim, saying, how do these nations serve their Elohim, that I may do likewise? You shall not behave thus towards Yah, your Elohim, for every abominable act which Yahweh hates, that they have done for their powers, for they even burn their sons and daughters in the fire to their Elohims. Whatever I command you, you shall be careful to do. You should not add or take away from it. Are y'all listening to what these scriptures are saying, family? I'm not here to be no super religious, dogmatic, super brew Christian individual. That's not my life. I don't live like that. But I am here to give you the truth. And if this text is what you subscribe to, I'm telling you what the text says. So if you are wondering which Christian should celebrate Samhain Day, which is Hallows Eve or Halloween, now you have the information to share with them. This is their ancestral customs, cultures, and this was carefully preserved throughout the years of wars against the Germanic tribes, wars against the Romans, wars against Christians. They did their best to preserve their culture. They wasn't trying to take over the Roman Empire. They wasn't trying to encroach upon other people's practices. They just wanted to do their thing and be left alone. Hence why they dwelled in the countryside. They didn't want to be part of the city. They wanted to be left alone. But they were forced to do fights and wars and tribal battles, which they did, forced to do. So like I said, when the other nations were worshiping their other gods and their other deities, the only time that the Most High said that he's going to destroy these other nations is only if they did something to his people Israel. If these nations did not bother Israel, the Most High wasn't going to render judgment against them. But guess what? These other nations are joining with the nations who are afflicting Israel. Even the true Israelites who are Reddenum, who are also here in America today, family. Just like they are abroad in the four corners of the earth. So with that being said, family, I'm about to close out. I need y'all to really absorb this information. And Israelites that are out there, those of you who subscribe to being a Hebrew Israelite, most of y'all so-called African Americans, blacks, Negroes, whatever you want to call yourselves. From my research, the majority of us are from the northern tribes. Okay, our ancestors, when they were sieged, because of their disobedience, they were sieged by the Assyrians. A good portion of them made their way into Africa and eventually West Africa, settled there amongst the natives, and they were keeping their pre-existing ancient Israelite customs, practices, traditions, etc. We need to go back to the mitzvot, the laws, statutes, commandments of the Most High, and we need to engage in the customs that our ancestors had also partook in, that ran parallel with the mitzvot. That was part of their culture. We need to resurrect these things, revitalize it, okay? And in doing so, family, we need to own our culture. We cannot allow somebody else to teach us how to practice our own culture. So therefore, what we do has to be distinct from any other group of people on this planet who is practicing a religion. This is important. And those of you who are the Goyim, who are outside the house of Israel, and you want to lay down aside your citizenship to your ancestral lineage, customs, practices, etc., and you want to cleave unto the Elohim and the power of Yisrael, individually, he will work on you. And he will bring you unto an Israelite who can lead the path for you, who can empower you, encourage you, right? Who has an obligation to treat you with a degree of honor and respect, okay? That doesn't make you above him. And the only reason why he's above you is because he has a greater obligation, a greater responsibility. He is bloodline that the Most High made a covenant with him and the other strangers that was initially with the Israelites, which was other Hamites and Shemites. Interesting. I went into this before we get into another time. So what I'm saying is, family, before you engage in any customs, practices, learn the history. Find out the provenance of this thing, where it originated from. Find out who practiced it. Find out where was it practiced. Find out what they did, why they did it. Find out how this custom got absorbed into your modern day folk culture. Look into this, family. Examine these things so you can make a conscientious decision as to what you choose to do. But again, family, don't think that you're going to please one power or group of powers, right? And one entity who you have to give monolatrism to, right? In a system of henotheism, and think you're going to worship this creator who you call, but you're going to invoke other powers and do the custom and traditions of other peoples. All right, family. Thank you, Talk Truth with Shoni, for the donation. Just got some inbox messages. Those of you who want to donate, go back to the on the chat. You're gonna see underneath the chat your channel name. Under that, you're gonna see a section where you can enter your message, and you're gonna see underneath that a smiley face and a dollar symbol. Click on the dollar symbol, and from there you can do a direct donation right to Kingdom Harbinger Ministries. All right. So, family, I hope this information was pertinent to you guys. Leaving out of Samhain Day, going into the next day. Remember, the calendar system is very important as well. The calendar system is very important because what's today? Today's All Saints Day, November 1st. It's crazy. How many of y'all know what All Saints Day is? And then All Souls Day that come next. Research this, family. This is serious. It's very serious. You got to know what's going on around you. All right. So, family, I love you guys. And I thank y'all for watching. Let me check out the chat. If anybody want a final shout out before I go, hit 1 if you want a final shout out. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Let's see. You want a shout out, hit 1. Hit 1 if you want a shout out. All right. All right. Hit 1 if you want a shout out. Let me shout y'all out before I go, family. Shout out to CK Nelson. Thank you for joining in and for watching. We appreciate that. Anybody else want to shout out, hit 1. I'm not going to answer questions tonight only because I didn't want to make this too long because I have other responsibilities to cater to. But I want you guys to just take in what I said. It's very important. All right. Shout out to Sean McGee, Haviva Yasharal, the Black Av 1, Angel Dominique. Shout out to DJ Soup. Shout out to Janae DeSalle. That's crazy. Shout out to who else is in here? Shout out to Darak. Shout out to Rin. Let's see who else. I shouted out to you already, Janae. Who else? Nisi's PC. Shout out to Nisi's PCs. Let's see. Shout out to who else is in here? Who else is in? Hit 1, family. I'm about to end off. There's about 70 of y'all in here. All right. Who else, family? And don't be afraid to stand up for what you believe in, family. Stand flat-footed in what you believe in. Be willing to die for what you believe in. Be willing to obligate yourself to your community. We got to protect our community. Our community is very fragile. You know what I'm saying? They fight a fratricidal war with each other, with other groups and peoples, man. We must restore our culture. We must strengthen up our men, our women, and the children. We have an obligation to them, family, because the scriptures tell us to increase and not decrease. It tells us to be autonomous, family. We have to protect our families, ourselves, and our community at all costs. And I will continue to defend the cause of my community until the day I die, to my last breath. This is what I'm here to do, family. This is not a game to me. This is not a religion to me. This is my inheritance, family. This is my obligation. This is my assignment. All right? And y'all need to take this seriously if y'all want to actually journey in this walk. You got to be willing to defend your fellow brother and sister at all costs. You cannot stand idly while innocent blood is shed. You guys cannot do this. You feel what I'm saying? Protect yourselves. Protect your family by all costs. Protect your community. And it first starts with education. People need to be aware that there's a battle going on around them for their minds, for their hearts, and for their souls, family. We are the defenders of that. Those who are keeping our culture, we're returning back to our culture and bringing those who have strayed to other cultures back into the culture where the Most High called them to be part of, family. Keep this in mind. Very, 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 very important. All right. Shout out to Mona Breakley. I appreciate that. And I think we should be up. Shout out to Ben Zion. Another shout out to Haviva. Shout out to Haviva. Powerful Haviva out in the building. Closest. I'm not even gonna get into that, but y'all know who that is. All right. Shout out to Fire 987. Shout out to Deborah Swart, who went in the other day. She went in on a panel discussion, man. Shout out to Deborah for going in. All right. All right, family. Shout out to Mona Breakley. Thank you for the donation, sis. I appreciate that. Anybody else want to shout out? Let me know. If you want another shout out, let me know. All right, family. I'm about to end off. I love all you guys. Thank you all for my day ones, man. Shout out to all the day ones. Please share this video everywhere. I want you to disturb Christians everywhere, disturb Israelites everywhere, disturb everybody everywhere. They need to know the truth, family. They need to give back the culture to the people whose culture it is. Research, family. History is your best teacher. Research history. Learn something, family. I don't want to just be here and just give you milk all the time. I want you to eat meat, but you got to grow teeth on your own. But all I'm here to cultivate you so that you have the tools so you can do it for yourself, family. I'm not a cult leader, family. All right. I'm not here to lead people on the same path as me. I'm here to give you tools so you can pave your own path and then have your own relationship with the patron deity of your choice. And hopefully it's Yah. That's all I'm here to do, family. I'm not here to impose my subscription on anybody. Anybody that wants to partake in this, let me know and I'll show you the way. I'll show you the path. Right. And I'm also on this journey. If somebody's ahead of me, please reach your hand back to grab me. For those of you who might see me fall, please reach your hand down to pick me up. And those who see I may need a boost, please reach your hand up to lift me up beyond the obstacles that are in my path, family. Help me get to the end of the light at the end of the tunnel, family. Let's all do it together. It's a race that we're running together. You feel me, family? Nobody's greater than the other. Everybody plays their role. Let's respect everybody for the role that they play. Let's honor them for the role that they play. All right? Let's give praise where praise is due. When people do what they can for their community, for their children, for their family, for their home, family. This is important. So I love all you guys. I respect all you guys. You guys make me who I am today, and I do this for you. For you. And it's not popular, right? Even though people might like my work, it may seem controversial. People may get upset or be bothered, but I'm doing this for you guys. I'm willing to be the sacrificial lamb. The difference is, are you willing to be the same for me and for others who are also putting their lives on the line for you, who's challenging the political system, who's challenging the economic system, the religious system, all right? Who's doing all these things so the world can be much better for your children? What inheritance are you leaving behind? What legacy are you leaving behind? Come on, family. You got to be all in. That's what this is about, family. All in. So I love you, family. Thank y'all again for watching. Anybody want a last minute shout out? I'll give you one more shout out. Let me know. But I'm about to end this off, man. You know, I'm about to end this off, man. I want to give you a little treat tonight. I didn't want to trick y'all, but I want to give you a little treat tonight. Now, shout out to Janae, says she's willing to be on the front line for a community. Shout out to Nieces Pieces as well, Flat-Footed, and the Truth. Shout out to Deborah, Shawnee, Mona, the Black Ave, man, Sean McGee, everybody in the group, man. All these people are powerhouses that's there for their community. Shout out to Aviva, Ezekiel Ben Yisrael. All these are soldiers, man, that is serious about this cause, man. Nobody out there can think they can threaten our community, destroy our community, wipe us off the globe. That's not happening, family. We're here for a reason. The Most High has raised us up for a reason. It's last day of times. I'm not dismayed by all the things I heard that's going on in the world. I don't care, family. The first thing I'm going to do when things hit the fan is I'm going to put my eyes up to my Yah, and then I'm going to have him lead me to his people, the remnant. I'm not here to pick up stragglers along the way, because all they're going to do is hold me back. But if they see the work being done and they want to be a part of it, yeah, you can support it. We okay with that. We're fine with that, family. You can support it. But you only do this with truth and sincerity and being genuine. You got to keep it a buck, like we say in New York. You got to keep it real. This is what it is, family. I love y'all. Even though my language sometimes can be eloquent, then it can be brash, then it can be a little ghetto. I have to mix it in because we don't know what the audience is that's watching this. I want to be able to reach as many people as possible. Right here from where I'm at to where you are, virtual world. Thank you, family. I love y'all. All right. Shout out to IVMC Mill. And I think I got everybody. So I love you, family. Join us for our next session, which will be not this weekend. Next Thursday, I have a debate coming up, tentative debate coming up with somebody that a lot of y'all already know, but I'm not going to say nothing on it yet. Shout out to Pieces of Me. I'm not going to say it yet because I'm going to wait till the person that's hosting it to actually advertise it, and then I'm going to come behind them and I'm going to promote it. But next Thursday, hopefully, everything goes well, I have a debate coming up. And I hope y'all are paying attention to it. It's going to be really, really good. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. I mean, I've been itching to do this for a long time. And I really want it to be a discussion as opposed to a debate. But I want to systematically decipher and break some things down to the opponent who is coming up against me, because I want them to understand that I know where they're coming from. It's not going to catch me off guard or unawares. I'm already aware of the tactics. But I digress. Love you, family. Leila Tov Mishpachah. Until we meet again, peace, shalom, Y'all know what it is. Black Power, family.